This is Kreskin, and you know me as the amazing Kreskin. I've enjoyed responding to a number of you who've written in and asked me to continue reviewing movies. This next film that I'm going to review is produced by, and actually it's an original Netflix film produced by the company. And the name of the movie is Hypnotic. This is a film I look forward to watching and seeing because of the very nature of the film, since hypnotic phenomena of some kind seems to have been an integral part of the writing of the film. I was a little bit disappointed in that I feel that hypnosis was not given its just position, whether we call it trance or pure suggestion. That's not the point. But the story is about a group of people who attend to a therapeutic session, one at a time. I don't mean as a group. The therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, I don't quite know what he is in his qualifications, but he uses hypnosis as a form of treatment. Now, there are some dark scenes that are rather perplexing to me because I'm watching the movie and suddenly the screen goes black. There may have been something in the screen, maybe a few traces of light or what have you, but it didn't seem to have the meaningfulness. That's a very tricky thing, to have a film totally dark unless you've got special music or special conversation or communication. But that didn't seem to be part of this. And the dark sight that you saw was supposed to be the feeling of some hypnotic influence. And the power of hypnosis is really not that clear. I'm not sure the message they have, because of course hypnosis is based on the power of suggestion. But you have a contraption that's put over people's heads, and whether it's something they hear or feel or is projected on the screen in their mind, this evidently is part of the specifics of the treatment. That is very, very confusing and doesn't make much sense to me. The induction of a hypnotic state or trance or what have you, the producing so that the patient is ready to respond, how that's done, I can't quite explain to you. But it has to do with something over the head, and the person running it, in this case it's a gentleman who stands behind the machine that's put on the person's head. He doesn't even say anything about going into some special state or what have you. There's conversation that ensures or takes place. The induction, consequently, is, to me, too silent. It just doesn't come across as such. And the suggestions that are made in the movie, because hypnosis is based on suggestibility, the suggestions that are made in the movie are really not that clear. I'm not sure if it's because of the machinery that's working, affecting their behavior, or something that maybe the therapist said, although that isn't quite clear. I don't even recall anything that specific. But that doesn't come across very strongly. The story, which I think is seriously written, and the acting is very competent, but it just doesn't move enough to create the kind of interest I would expect. There are police in the story, but their role in the story is not that quite clear. They either used this hypnosis to try to solve something that was going on, or had this hypnotist handle this hypnosis, but in some way, whether it had to do directly with what was happening with a gal who was somewhat troubled, and another gal who also was troubled. That doesn't come across very clear. In fact, the climax of the movie is, for me, a very mixed experience. Even when it was over, I wasn't quite certain that it was over. I don't know if it put the hypnotist in a good light or a negative light, because at some point in the story, you suspect the hypnotist of creating some response that was less desirable, but then later on, the rapport between the patient and the hypnotist becomes more positive. So the real power and the real impact of hypnosis is simply not that dramatically clear. And I think, had the writing changed, it could have been. But enough said.